Hi, my name is Kenny Fuentes.
I'm Steve Orr. My name is Erik-Peter Mortensen.
So this is Marieuse, and usually our crackerjack team of technicians and audio engineers, they think they're so smart and they like playing practical jokes. They like putting in little snippets like this is CNN and this is CBS, but I got away from them. It is midnight and I'm inserting my own little clip, and this is the Music Roundtable.
You are watching the Music Roundtable with Kenny Fuentes, Steve Orr, Erik-Peter Mortensen, and Marieuse Shamir.
Hey everyone. So if you wonder why guys have been the only ones on, well, that was our first two sessions, but today, we have some ladies that are going to be in this video, and they are going to talk about their group Angelica, and particularly we're going to be talking about performing live during COVID, both in an actual setting and also from home. So the two participants that I'd like to introduce to you today, is Marie Caruso and Virginia Kaycoff. And I hope I'm saying that the right way, but if not, I'll put a title up later so you all can figure out the way to say it yourselves. Kenny, otherwise known as Fuentes, and Steve Orr will be back with us in the future. But for now, enjoy our special guests. Thank you so much. Yes, Marie,
Okay.
let's start with you.
Hi, my name is Marie Caruso, and I am a music teacher and choral director, and I've been working for a long time. I, I'm a retired teacher from high school. I worked for, a number of years in the city, and now I'm teaching at Hunter College as an assistant professor. It's an adjunct position, and I supervise student teachers, so who are in music and choral directors. So um, it's a great position to still have my hands in the field and to see what people are doing. And I'm also director of a women's group called Angelica. And Angelica is suffering through the COVID crisis because we haven't been able to meet for the last 6 months. And so I'm hoping that this roundtable can bring in the discussion of how we handle musical activity during this time and how we become better.
Marie, do you want to mention your current Angelica projects right now?
Well, right now, Angelica is preparing for a fall virtual concert. So on December 16th, actually, we're going to be presenting a concert at Grace Church, but it's virtual. And then we're hoping that by May we'll be able to perform in person live. And so we plan for 3 concert dates in May. Now, whether that's going to take place or not really does depend on what happens with the virus. And we're also producing a CD, and it's all done with the help of Erik-Peter. And this CD was made in quarantine, so we'll talk later maybe about how the process of making that CD. Okay,
Okay,
Great.
I pass the
Bravo.
baton.
okay.
Okay, my name is Virginia Kaycoff, and I am an amateur singer and a serious amateur singer and musician. I play early instruments, viola da gamba, and I actually sing in Marie's group, Angelica. I belong to several different choruses, and during this pandemic, I've made quite a few virtual videos, and I'm participating in a lot of lessons from various sources, and that's very interesting. I hope we can get into that. But and I also sing with another group called Amuse, which presented in honor of ratification of women's rights to vote, presented a new recording, which is available online, as well as the amazing job at the amazing Angelica recordings that EP and Marie have directed. They're wonderful. I have to say, I can't believe that they could be so wonderful. Thank you.
Do you want to talk a little bit, like Eric was just saying, about just about how this affects you, or
I think you and I should also do a little brief introduction because we never had a great background before. We should probably talk a little bit about ourselves briefly.
Yeah.
Want me to go next, Marius?
No, you're next.
Oh, you want me to? Okay.
Oh, who me?
No, I
You
meant
mean
Eric. You, yes.
Okay, let me.
You.
Hi, everyone. My name is Erik-Peter Mortensen, and I have been a musician since I was a kid. I come from 4 generations of musicians. It's a long story for another time. But basically, I started singing in children's choirs as a kid, Metropolitan Opera children's choruses and church choirs. And I went to school for music at Columbia University and got later a degree for film scoring and TV production at Berkeley Music in Boston online. And I have had the pleasure of being able to work in music full-time for the past few years. And I have had many great clients recently, and one of my favorite and very talented clients is Marie and Virginia with Angelica. And it gives me a chance to do the stuff that I have dreamt of always doing, putting together great choral music, because I love choral music, having been involved with it since I was a kid, and to do maybe even a better job and with more attention to nuances in isolation. I have actually done superior work than being able to go to live recordings, because in live recordings, one of the drawbacks is that you only get one shot. You get one shot at the live recording. If a truck comes right through, that's it. That's part of your recording, right? So it's actually, I found it enriching to work a little bit in isolation. We could talk about, everyone has a different feeling. Some people feel isolated in isolation. I feel energized in isolation. It's really, I feel the exact opposite. And I'll go into a little bit more detail about how I'm energized and why I'm so excited to do a lot of these virtual choirs for ensembles, both at the amateur and professional level. So we can get into that in a little bit. And I'm going to hand over the baton to Marieuse right now.
What you said about background noise, and just a short, interesting story. The Howling Bells, when they were doing a recording of, and I forget the name of the song, but it had something to do with, emergencies. And just as they were doing the recording, an ambulance came by, and you heard the sound of the siren going on in the background. Totally, unplanned. So it's funny because, those kinds of things can also work for you. It's just like an amazing little synergistic coincidence. I wanted to get back to what you guys were saying about choral singing during COVID, because I think one of the things that's always, in my mind is a question of, if that's the way that you're making money, does that affect your ability to survive? And feel free, anybody just jump in.
Well, for Angelica, it's actually been very bad because it's not a good way to make money. We usually have many patrons, and we get paid for doing concerts. We're a semi-professional group, so we are actually hired, and so all of that has dried up, and we're not making money anymore. And our patrons are not giving us money either. So it's not that I've been sending out emails requesting money, and I guess that has to be done delicately, and you have to figure out how to do it. But it's one of the topics. I find it a difficult thing to deal with, and I feel like people have to get something for their money. So I like to show what I'm doing. And so that's my next intention, is really to present an email, do an email blast to our sponsors, where we could show them that we've been working on even during this time, and that we need continual support, So that's my idea.
If I could speak on that, or yeah, go ahead, Eric. Go ahead.
No, you speak on it first. Go ahead, Marieuse.
I was just going to say, I spoke with a musician today, Marieuse, And we kind of talked about this whole notion of how historically through time, there's always been this element of that you're giving something for free, and getting something back from the crowd. So, for example, way back when, it used to be that performers would perform in the streets, and even up to today, but that's how it used to be, is that you'd perform in the street and people would give you money. And so, even in the days of modern days, you've had radio where you put something on the radio and you decide if you like it or not, and then maybe you go out and you buy the record. And so I think it's the same thing today, but what's happening is that because we're already in the transition from money where you pay for a song to something where you're getting it for free, and then you're monetizing by merchandise or other methods, and not necessarily through buying the music itself. It's almost like COVID. In some ways, it's been bad, but also it could be an advantage, because now we're really learning, all of us on the fly, of how to monetize when we're not able to engage the audience directly. It's roundabout. It's a side kind of direction that you're taking. So Eric, can you say something about that?
Yeah, I was going to. Marie was speaking about keeping money flowing in as an organization, but I'm going to speak to all my colleagues there that are individual singers and professional singers that have been affected on every level, whether you are Pavarotti status superstar or a choral freelancer like I am. I had literally 4 concerts canceled on me that were going to start on March 14th, literally the next day. I don't get paid a lot to begin with for music, but that meager income was shut down. I went from earning maybe $1,000 to $2,000 a month in music to 0 a month in music. Now, that may not seem like a lot of money, but that would have paid my mortgage. It would have paid a good chunk of it. And I'm sure that there's other people that rely heavily on that. And the thing is that, whereas if you're in a corporation and they say, okay, you're going to go work at home on your data entry and your meetings will be on Zoom and whatever, you tell a musician, okay, church is closed. Schools are closed. Concerts, you can't get into a concert hall. You cannot perform live. And these things, because of the technology limits, unlike other things where I can do data entry at home, or I can do graphic design at home, you can't Zoom a concert at home. There are new technologies that are being worked as plugins for Zoom, but if you actually hear a Zoom rehearsal session, you would never give money to a musician again. Okay? It's like you would not even want to be a musician if you had to do it that way. And we're going to probably talk a little bit more about that. But so, yeah, the income is very difficult because now the only things we can do is produce things layer by layer, one at a time, and then combine them into a composite whole. So whereas before you would have recording artists that would do tours, but they would also go into the studio and they would lay down tracks. You would have the drummer come and lay down the groove track. Then you'd have the guitarist. Because not all bands, not all studios are big enough to accommodate a whole band. So sometimes you do what's called multi-tracking, and you record one live player first, then you record another player listening to that first drummer, and then laying down his guitar or his bass over that. Then you have the engineer take a step backward, mix it all together, bring in the singer. Now you have the singer on top of that. And the whole thing is very effective because the final outcome may actually be better than when you did it live, because you had a chance to correct mistakes, do things again. What I'm saying is that now everybody that wants to create music now is their own engineer. They're participating in the production process by even recording into an iPhone or recording into a laptop and sending it remotely to an engineer like myself. They're part of the production process in addition to being part of the performance process.
Yeah.
Can I just very quickly, are you saying in essence that you feel like from a COVID standpoint, the production end, if you're creating something, is actually kind of better and advantageous to the process?
Well, there's yes and no, because again, the production quality is only as good as the technology that you produce with. So if you have like, you can relate to this.
Okay.
If you have like an old Android phone that sounds like you're talking to the man on the moon, well, yeah, the engineer can take that, kind of like make it a little bit more wholesome, and maybe bury it in the mix so it's not as disgusting. But you don't have the access to go to a studio and record into a $10,000 Neumann mic, right? So the clever engineers like me, we try to take the lowest common denominator material, enhance it the best that we can, and you know what? It's never going to be as great as a $10,000 Neumann mic. However, there's another thing that says that sometimes, you take a snapshot of somebody jumping over a bridge. That's way better than setting up a professional video and waiting for the guy to jump, because that may never happen.
I think we got that. Virginia?
Yeah.
Sorry,
yeah, I just wanted to talk about. Yeah, I just wanted to talk about a couple of the things that I've seen happening. Some very recent. I know of at least 2 churches that have geared up for virtual performances where people can meet, people who feel safe, who've been tested, can meet and have a concert. And for example, St. Luke in the Fields has like high definition recording equipment, and I saw a wonderful concert there by a folk group that I can't remember. It was really amazing, and it's like a fisheye camera. Set it, give the concert. That was great. And also every chorus I know just about is either having online rehearsals, which makes you more, for amateurs, it makes you better musicians because you're really listening. But in terms of money, also there's, I forget what the portal is. There's a portal by which people can buy lessons, or in the case of like the Viola da Gamba, there's somebody who is putting up Music -1, and he's charging for subscriptions. I know a couple of people who are doing that. And also, yes, Eventbrite is another way that you can actually charge to stay-at-home chorus, for example. You sign up for rehearsals through Eventbrite. Now, those happen to be free because you've arranged with them before that you're a member. You may be paid, you maybe didn't. But Eventbrite is like charging people to participate in musical experiences. So it's not enough to pay the bills. That's the problem. But people are finding ways. They're giving, a lot of teachers I know are giving virtual workshops online, charging usually about $100 for 4 sessions. I'm doing one in which it's 4 sessions for $100, and there are 6 participants, and she has another section. So she's bringing something in. So people are and I find that I've done a lot of Zooming. I actually have been playing the ukulele with groups all over the country and learning my way through popular music of the 20s through the 50s. And I've met a lot of people. Some are professionals who are offering lessons. Some are just crazy people. Some are, just amateurs. But there's, I agree that this is a time of expansion from our homes. We're really learning new things about making music. It's not the same. One more thing is that Greenwich Village Greenwich Village Chamber Chorus had our first live rehearsal last night at St. Luke in the Fields. And we were supposed to rehearse in the garden, but because there was you can probably cut this up, because there was a funeral or something that was taking place in the garden, we sat in the sanctuary, 11 singers, a pianist and a conductor, all spaced out. So we had a rehearsal. The rest of the chorus was on a Zoom and participating from there. So there are ways that are developing to make music and to make a living.
So I have strong feelings about that, because I feel like I will not place myself in anything that's really risky. And I feel like this is not the right time to do that, especially they're saying that because people are having reactions to being in COVID so long, that they feel a little bit more like it's time to do something and get out of the house. And so because of that, people are doing more risky things, and we might see levels of COVID spiking again, especially come the fall. So I don't feel like now is the time for me to say, okay, it's good to be in a church, inside a church, and to have a number of people singing together. And it's a little bit, it's like a little more risky than being in the church just praying with, which they allow now. So I feel like you have to measure the amount of risk you're willing to do. Some people might feel more willing than others, but I feel like it puts your, members at a disadvantage. Now, it is good to have a number of people singing together and then zooming that so that other people could sing to it. But that depends on if they're singing in tune or not, because then, your Zoom people could be learning a piece the wrong way. And I feel like there's nothing like having people together singing and tuning together and hearing how to blend and hearing how to nuance. And all of that happens with live production. So, right, I think that even though we have advantages of being alone in the house, we also have great disadvantages.
Before we start, let me just introduce Marieuse to everybody. Hi, everybody. This is Marieuse.
How do you say your name? I'm sorry.
Think of it like I'm going to get married, and then I have a use for all the presents I get. So it's
Marieuse. Marieuse.
I've actually been pronouncing it wrong all this time. I thought it was like more like marry us. Marry us? Marieuse.
Marieuse. Marieuse.
Okay, Marieuse. Okay, Marieuse. It's the French U. Marieuse.
Yeah,
Are you
Don't you know
are
him
you
for
German
years
or
and years?
Dutch, or are you American, or what are you?
my mom is Jewish Russian, second generation from Russia, and my father is a mixture of Jamaican, Chinese, and French,
Yeah, he's
among
all over.
other things.
Wow. Cool.
So I really got a whole UN, somewhere under the skin here. But it's very remote.
Virginia, do you remember Stephen King? Do
Cows.
you remember
Stephen?
the Misery, his Stephen King movie, Misery?
No, but tell me about it.
That's where he lives.
He
So
doesn't look miserable, though.
Any of those horror shows you're talking about, like the country with
Yeah, you're
nobody
so
left,
isolated. Oh my God.
and the cows and the cornfields and the crop circles, that's him.
So when the
Right.
aliens come, this is where they're coming. They're taking me out of the isolated place, and no one's going to notice.
It'll be perfect. You have the perfect setup over there. Perfect. Before we get started, I just want to say, I know you were really busy today, Marieuse. Did you have a chance to see the topics that were suggested?
Yeah, I love the topics, by the way. I really thought that this is the kind of thing that doesn't really get discussed very much.
Well, in the music world, it does, actually. In the
Exactly.
choral world, that's all they
And that's-
talk about.
Exactly. And so that's, like you said, it's in the music world, but the folks out there, they don't understand what's actually going on with musicians. So that's why I thought it was a really interesting topic for people that love music to see what musicians are going through. Because, like you said, vocals, being sharp at your skills, that's very important, I think, in almost every career. Like even baseball players and basketball players, there's a certain skill level that starts deteriorating when we're under COVID. And so
it's kind of like use it or lose it, basically.
Right.